a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Tuesday edition. I scared Chazzy so much, he was like trying to leave the screen, but my voice of seduction brought him back. But it is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, and I am wearing a red hat. We also have Dan Moore, more for your money.
Woo!
Who likes to eat his name key because he doesn't eat enough for dinner. And we have Chazzy, the snazzy, not too sassy CEO. But we have a action-packed show, everyone. We're going to go over the NHL Playoff Picture a little bit more. Chazzy's going to tell us what happened at the Masters. He's going to master that. The Flames just won't quit. We're going to talk a little bit about how Calgary's been on such a roll. The Edmonton Oilers, however, I think they're rolling straight to pretending that they don't play hockey anymore. But what goalie's going to go in the net? Is it going to be the guy who should be a backup in the NHL or the other guy who should be a backup in the NHL? Blue Jays had an absolute collapse on Monday night. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some junior hockey playoff races and so much more, including some quarterbacks in the CFL that some salaries might seem a little bit ridiculous.
What?
But first, Chazzy, you must have been ecstatic watching Danoff playing for Montreal tonight.
All we needed was 6 minutes, I believe. It was 6 minutes before he got his first point. Goal right after.
Second shift of his NHL career, dances around two guys and does a beautiful tape-to-tape pass. And gotta remember, one of the defensemen he undressed was Colin Miller, who's been a veteran in this league for a long time. And then his goal, the stay on side, come flying down there, and then with the beautiful dangle. Actually, I was surprised he wasn't in the shootout, to tell you the truth. I was shocked they played him during the 3-on-3 overtime. Then I was even more shocked you don't put him out in the shootout because he had the hot hand.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Didn't make a lot of sense for them, but you know what? Neither did that whole game for Montreal. But I did want to quickly say that Dandanoff, he certainly met the hype. Now, I do hope Montreal fans kind of simmer down on the expectations a little bit. Everyone's like, he's going to be the next Kaprizov. He's going to be the next Kaprizov. He's played one game. Let's just chill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was the same thing when people said Tyler Bolzak was going to become the next Matt Sundin.
Yeah.
Or DeMar DeRozan was going to be the next Vince Carter, although he was
not quite.
Close. And, you just think about, or remember when Andrew Raycroft was going to be the next Cujo?
Yeah.
I would just say for Montreal, just kind of relax. His next game he plays might be terrible, but I think you got a real gem in this kid. As the most assists in KHL history for a player under 25, he's exciting. He's fast. I think he's exactly what that team needs for secondary scoring. Don't be surprised, and Chazzy, you can disagree with me if you'd like, but don't be surprised in key moments if you see him get bumped up into the top six. He was in the bottom six for this game playing with Alex Newhook, but I could see him getting up there with Suzuki and Caulfield in certain moments. Yep. Just to bring in that speed.
Yep. I'm very happy how good he played. He was first round draft pick, selected 5th overall, and this pick is key in Montreal. Let's be honest. Sikorsky is a great guy and all, but he hasn't lived up to be a first overall pick hype. So because he hasn't been that good, you gotta get most of you can off Danoff to make up for it.
So, Chaz, you want to ask you that? Do you agree that Slavkovsky hasn't really lived up to his potential, or do you think he's still just kind of finding his way and that he's going to get going?
Yeah, he'll definitely get going. He's a big kid, right? So once he starts to use his size a little bit more and everything, I think he'll come around. Just up and down year this year.
Yeah. If he could stay more consistent like how he's been playing lately, he'll be a great player.
Yeah, so that year was when Montreal. I'm trying to figure out what year he was drafted in, Dinoff. But either way, he's a heck of a player.
I think 24, bud.
But anyways, he was drafted 5th overall, and I think he's going to be a very good player for the Montreal Canadiens.
I think he should have been a higher pick. I just think he slid down to 5th a little bit because, coming from Musser and everything. But boy, he's a very great player.
So he was drafted in 2021.
Oh, my bad.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to look at that. First was Celebrini. Very hard to argue if that being not the first overall pick.
No, Celebrini was this year, bud.
No, sorry. So 2024 draft. You're right.
There you
2024. Then Chicago drafted, they made a Langshanoff, Seniak in Anaheim, Lindstrom in Columbus, then Dandinoff 5th with Montreal. And if you remember, people were not happy that they picked this Dandinoff 5th overall.
I was happy at the time.
Because they were like, he might not even be able to defer here. But I personally thought it was a good risk because I think if the situation that was happening in Russia wasn't happening, he might have been a first overall pick. Not saying that Celebrini was a bad first overall pick. That kid is next level.
He is. So defensively.
I do want to talk more about that game, and that is a tough loss for Montreal.
Yeah.
Losing 3-2 on Monday night. That's a game against Chicago. You win that one, you clinch your playoff spot. Habs fans right now are just going, oh boy. Because you've just opened the door just a little bit for the Blue Jackets. Not much, but just a little bit. You play the Carolina Hurricanes on Wednesday, and you need a point.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's going to be a tough one for Montreal, right?
The only thing is the game doesn't mean anything in Carolina.
But like Chazzy, how frustrated were you as a Habs fan to see they just couldn't get the job done against Chicago on Monday night?
Yeah, we were anticipating a 2 points there, but it's in those situations, right? You come back off the road and then you sort of lay an egg. They had a great start, but just couldn't get going in the second and third.
Wow.
And I found Montreal this year at times have played down to opponents. And I think that was kind of a classic case of that again. But this isn't on the script, but I'm going to throw this at you anyways, because in the Streakers app, you can challenge anyone to the Montreal versus Carolina. And I'm going to say on Wednesday night that Montreal gets it done and they beat Carolina and they clinch that playoff spot. Are you guys agreeing with me or disagreeing?
Agreed.
Yep.
So remember, if you disagree with us, the self-proclaimed sports analysts and two dudes in black hats, make sure you challenge us on the Streakers app. Anytime, anywhere. Come on, you got to do something when you're in the bathroom or taking your dog for a walk. So download the app and challenge us today. But now
earn your points.
And earn your points. But now I want to talk more about the Edmonton Oilers. And
oh boy.
At the moment we're recording, they are being slaughtered by the LA Kings. 4-0 going into the third period. Edmonton is taking more penalties than known to man. Corey Perry got a 10-minute misconduct for unsportsmanlike conduct. So he must have said something pretty bad.
He was talking pretty aggressive to the referee there after that.
But 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But I mean, but the bigger question for me at Edmonton, I've already seen some people. I'm in a group chat with some of my buddies from out west, and they're kind of freaking out. And it's like, guys, come on. They don't have Draisaitl, no McDavid, no Hyman, no Frederick. There's a lot of guys out of the lineup. Now, mind you, Matthias Ekholm's going to be out for the first round at least.
That's probably the biggest loss.
No, a biggest loss would have been if McDavid or Draisaitl wasn't playing, because this team can't score when they're not in the lineup.
I don't think so, bud. I think Ekholm's that important to his team.
Chazzy, do you think Dan has had too many alcoholic beverages without telling us when he says Ekholm's a bigger piece than Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl?
Oh, he's a big piece, not as big as those two, though.
No, like Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are the two best players in the world right now.
Yeah,
the Edmonton Oilers will only go as far as those two will take them.
But in theory, they got a lot of secondary offense.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. They
got
Skinner and Arvidsson, who were for both 30-goal scorers a couple of years ago.
That's
if ground can get warm, they'll be all right. They had a good game there yesterday. Edmonton's on a back-to-back, don't forget, and I think half their team's out. Like Winnipeg Jets last night, I think sat half their team.
I was kind of surprised Edmonton sat McDavid and Draisaitl for precautionary reasons, basically saying we don't care about home ice.
I think this game
could have home ice in the playoffs against LA.
I think this game is almost a tease for like dangling the carrot to LA. It's like, oh, we'll let you have these 2 points and we'll take the series instead. That's what I think.
Okay, I'm going to call this right now. We'll do a playoff preview, but Edmonton's going out first round this year.
Ooh.
And I'm going to tell you why. It's due to their goaltending, which is the big thing I want to talk about Edmonton. Who is your game one starter? Calvin Pickard or Stuart Skinner? They're not great options. Like, it's kind of like, do you want to get shot in the head or the foot? Neither one's great, but the foot's probably better than the head. So which one do you think is the foot?
Oh, you have to start Skinner for sure. Going into the playoffs?
See, I'll be honest, I completely disagree with you. I'm going Calvin Pickard. Calvin Pickard down the stretch has actually played pretty well. He's got over a 90% save percentage, which to me is a bigger stat, right? So when I'm looking at this team right now, I am going Calvin Pickard. He's got the slightly better goals against average. He's got the over 90% save percentage. In 30 games, he's 22-9 in 35 games played. Right? So I don't know. I think I'm really going, like 35 games started. Sorry. I think I'm going Pickard. I think Pickard has just been the hotter goalie at the moment. Stuart Skinner's coming off an injury, and the last game for Edmonton, Stuart Skinner looked pretty rough. I don't think this game against the Kings, he's really Edmonton has just not put out a good effort in front of him. But Dan, are you leaning towards me with Pickard, or are you sticking with Chazzy and saying you're going with the guy that took you to Game 7 of the Cup Finals?
I'll go on my blow here. I'm going off the board with you, bud, and I'm taking Pickard because Pickard has worked his butt off, and I'm not even. I didn't know Pickard could do it. I didn't have faith in him. I thought Edmonton might have even missed the playoffs by the time Skinner was injured, but Pickard kept his team in the fight and in the hunt and through the stretch. And I think considering Skinner struggled so much this last game, I think Pickard's kind of earned this one. Now, I will say, if I'm starting Pickard on game one, I'm giving Pickard a very, very short leash. As soon as Edmonton's losing from 2, he's out.
And again, I don't agree with you with that either, because I don't think you can really, if I'm down 2-0, but I'm being outshot 35-6, I'm not blaming my goaltender.
Well, true, but right?
I mean, Skinner did have a decent game against Winnipeg. But Winnipeg, again, as you said, Chazzy, half their lineup was LA's just made it 5-0 now, by the way. So yeah, Edmonton's definitely not getting home ice. There's no way in hell Edmonton is scoring 5 goals in 11 minutes. So speaking of that, let's get into the standings here. And I honestly thought I'd be saying today the Montreal Canadiens had clinched a playoff spot, but they have not.
Wow.
And I hate saying this, though. If you're Montreal, you're getting a little uneasy, I'll say. Because if you lose to Carolina, Columbus plays Philly and the Islanders to close the year out. It's doable.
It's doable, yeah.
That's doable. So, Chazzy, are you feeling confident right now after that game against Chicago? You're looking at the standings, you're looking at your last game, and looking at the Blue Jackets' last 2 games. How confident are you as a Canadiens fan?
Oh, fairly confident. We'll get in here in that last spot. We'll seal it up with a nice win against Carolina, or at least a point anyway.
But if you don't, are you making major changes in the offseason, or are you happy that the team got further ahead than what they were projected to this year?
Oh, I don't think they're going to make major changes, maybe add a piece, but I think there's a lot of momentum going into that locker room. And yeah, it'd be devastating if that happened. We're not even going to mention it any further. But, but yes, no, a lot of positive things going into the playoffs. And yeah, hopefully bring on the Caps here.
And I will say, you're playing a Carolina team that has absolutely nothing to play for. They've been struggling of late. Yeah. Montreal has a very good chance of winning this game, or at least getting a point. You got to remember, Montreal was 6-2-2 in their last 10. Back-to-back losses, but both overtime losses. So they have points in 8 of their last 10 games.
Pretty good.
Montreal gets a point out of that. And there's no guarantee Columbus is going to continue to keep rolling. But Columbus has won 4 straight. So give the Blue Jackets a lot of credit. They climbed back in the race.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I was if you talked to me last week, I'm like, the Jackets are done. They're done to water.
I was just going to say, even if you're a Columbus fan, considering everything that's happened to our poor team this year, the fact that they finished in 9th place and were that close to making playoffs, you got to be happy with the team.
And if you're the Jackets, too, you're looking at this. If you could just improve that road record, because at home they were 25-10-5. But but on the road they were 13, 23, and 4. You find a way to maybe get 16, 17 wins on the road, you're probably a playoff team.
Yeah, I think Columbus is like spending some money. Same as I think Columbus and Montreal are in the exact same position, actually. I think they've both done better than what they projected to do, and they're both leaning faster in the process than what they were doing. So I don't think they're blowing up either way, both of these teams. I think the goalie and free agency is just adding a couple small key pieces and keeping their cores together. Montreal, they already got their piece with Dantonov. Like, imagine had Dantonov beginning of this year, maybe would have been up there with fighting with Florida, you know. So it's like, I think Montreal's going to look really good either way.
Yeah, and like I said, I still think Montreal's going to find a way to at least get a point, if not two, and they're going to clinch that playoff spot. We're gonna be talking very different on Thursday.
Yes.
But now let's go to the wild card race in the West.
Wow.
And I remember if I could turn back time, I would find a way to say Calgary would be in the hunt with 2 games remained.
You did call that.
The Calgary Flames are sitting 2 points back of the St. Louis Blues with 2 games in hand.
Wow.
This is, now mind you, they got a tough test coming up against Vegas. But they have a legitimate shot of getting this done, and the Blues have a legitimate shot of being the best team in the league down the stretch and failing. Losing that game to Seattle could come to bite them back in the butt. Because if you win that game, you clinch your spot, basically. And if by losing that one, now you play Utah, your final game of the year. But Calgary, if I remember right, hearing from on Sportsnet, they hold the tiebreaker over the Blues. I believe this is of the season series. So if I'm Calgary, you control your destiny here.
Yeah.
You win out, you're in. If you can win out, you're in. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's very, very doable. You got the Vegas Golden Knights and the LA Kings, 2 teams that have absolutely nothing to play for.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Take it away, Dan.
Well, I was going to say, I know the last game against Vegas, Calgary looked pretty bad, but at that point, there was still a little more play for Vegas. But at this point, Vegas has been known for having big injuries at the end of the year affecting their playoff runs in the past. So I would think they may bench a player like Mark Stone and stuff like that to make sure they're healthy for game 1 at this point, because the game means nothing for Vegas. So, Vegas is a tough component, and even though Vegas would win 9 out of 10 games against Calgary, I think Calgary could win this one.
And you got to remember, too, you say Calgary was a rough one. They lost 3-2 in overtime off a bad bounce. Like, I get it.
That's a really bad bounce, bud. Like, you can't be a playoff team and lose like that.
Well, then Toronto can't be a playoff team, according to
Yeah, I agree.
But they are. And I look at Calgary, what they've been able to do down this stretch yet again is we said they could only lose 1 game down the stretch. They lost 2, but they lost them both in overtime.
Yeah.
So that equaled out points-wise to the same as losing 1.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're looking in the standings here. The rest of them, we pretty much know. Like, we know Edmonton's playing LA. We don't know if Vegas is going to play the Wild, the Blues, or the Flames just yet, because the Flames could also jump the Wild. Right. We know that the Stars are playing the Avs. Again, we don't know who the Jets are playing yet. We know the Senators are playing the Panthers because it's mathematically impossible for Florida to catch Toronto, although actually they could catch the Lightning. So that's not mathematically clinched yet. Never mind. So the Atlantic, we don't know at all really what's going on yet. We know the Capitals are playing either Montreal or the Blue Jackets, and we know the Hurricanes are playing the Devils. For you guys saying, Jacob, you went way too fast there. Well, don't worry. We're going to have an NHL playoff preview show.
Oh, yeah. I'll be a
Craig, don't worry, okay? Craig, you look worried. There's a smile. Who's happy, Craig? He's a happy Craig. But let's get into some Leafs talk here. Because, again, I don't think we need to dwell on the standings as much as we have in the past. There's just not as much going on right now. And did Wool playing better this last game, does that change your tune on who you're starting?
Oh my gosh.
I love Dan's reaction whenever I bring this up.
No.
Why? Wool played really well.
I don't care. Storm's got 3 shutouts. He's played incredible. He's only played half the year. He's huge. He's a good-looking dude. He's got the swagger. He's going to get it done.
Funny enough, what I like with Stolar is actually how he communicates really well. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you hear him talking to his defense a lot, and I find that's how he stays in games like that game against Montreal on Saturday, where not much was really happening, but because they think he did a good job at staying engaged in that one. But Craig, from a non-Leaf fan perspective, could you see the Leafs still trying to make up their mind here, or do you think it's done and Stolarz is the starter no matter what Woe does down these last 2 games?
Hearing what you guys have been saying over the last few weeks, it looks like now Stolarz is your number one going in, just from what we're seeing here. And he's played what, 3 to Walls 1 going down the stretch here?
Yes, down the stretch, yes.
Yeah.
And also, too, Stolarz has won either 6 or 7 starts in a row. I find the team looks more confident in front of him. However, he's getting a very short leash. He's kind of like that puppy that you're training, and you kind of trust that it's not going to run away, but you still got a real tight grip on that leash just in case. Like, Craig, when you walk Bear, how tight of is Bear good on a leash?
Oh, yeah, he's had a lot of training, a lot of dog training.
But when you first got him, you had a tight grip on that leash.
Yes.
And this is Stolar's first year as a Leaf. So
I thought Jake was going to be talking about poo-poos, not walking on a leash, but anyway.
I don't know, Dan. You're the one who likes to sniff dogs' poop, not me.
I don't sniff. Ew. What?
But I agree with both of you guys. Anthony Stolarz is my starter for game 1. However, that does not mean he's my starter for game 2.
I see that's where I think you're going to get in a little bit of trouble if you want him to go deep into the playoffs. You got that much short of a leash. You're not going to give him 1 or 2 games at least.
No, I'm not saying like if they lose the first game, you automatically go to Wool. But I say if he gets lit up for 6 goals on 20 shots, yeah, you're going to Wool.
But he's not going to.
You can kiss those conference playoffs goodbye.
Yeah, literally, exactly.
I think psyche-wise, they can't get down in a series too much too early. Like if you go down 2-0 and you lose home ice pretty badly right off the hop, especially if you're playing the Senators where you haven't been good against them all regular season, you're a team that has had next to 0 playoff success in this modern era of this team. Yeah, I think it's a different situation than other teams in the league just because of it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. If there's any bit of doubt that's back there, I think it could bite them in the butt.
Right.
So is it very, very important? Let's not just put it on the goaltender here, but for the Leafs to win game 1.
I think they have to at least play well in game 1. I don't know if winning game 1 is critical, but they can't get blown out. But they can't get the doors blown off them.
See, I think winning game 1 is critical. I think if you want to go into a deep one, like a conference finals, you got to get the first round out early. You got to bomb it off in 4 or 5 games. So that way you're West out. If you go with 7 games in first round and 7 games in round 2, you could play 14 games versus the component have only played 8. That's almost double, Blow. I think it's important to do this off. I will just say quickly with Wool, you got to give him credit. It is the first time in Maple Leaf history that 2 goalies that got over 20 wins. So that's pretty impressive on both of them.
It is, but I'm yawning at your comments, Dan, because I look at the Florida Panthers when they went to the Cup Finals, not the year they won, but the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And they were bent to the brink against Boston in the first round, down 3-1, and came back and won, and then steamrolled everyone else. I don't think the first round is critical. You get it done early. You just got to get it done. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if you got to go 7 games every series. You just got to find a way to win them.
I mean, some teams do that, right? I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it's going to be a heck of a lot easier if you get the first slower, because in theory, the first round is going to be the easiest component, especially Toronto getting the division. So in theory, it makes sense to get it done in 4 or 5 games.
Wrong
and
attitude
well
for a reason.
rested for the next series to be 7.
Every single game they have to play as it's their last game of the year.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been able to get it done. But now the next question I want to ask, this is like question period, except no one's yelling anything at Mr. Speaker.
You know what's going to hands up?
If Max Pacioretty is healthy, is he in your lineup game 1?
Yes.
Craig? He's saying yes as he's coughing. He's got the mute button on lock. I'm going to be real here. I don't know.
Ooh.
I might leave Robertson in the lineup depending on how he plays these.
Are you nuts?
No.
You signed Pacioretty as a free agent for veteran playoff experience. Doesn't matter.
Yes, it
you
does.
brought him in for that. And what's Nick Robinson do? Okay, he got 2 goals against Columbus. Then you play him against a real team. He looked pathetic again.
Nick Robertson is a guy that can bring in some secondary scoring into the lineup.
We don't need that.
Yes, you do.
No.
You have to, because what is Ottawa going to focus on? They're going to focus on stopping the Matthews line and the Tavares line.
No, Ottawa's going to be physical.
No.
Ottawa's going to be physical, bro.
Really? So you think that's like, we'll just leave Austin Matthews on breakaways all night? Who cares? Of course not. They're going to be.
Wow, wait, Matthews only scored 30 goals anyway.
Oh my gosh. If he was healthy all year, he'd been on pace for over 40. And 30 goals in this league is very difficult. Matthews, if he was healthy, was on pace for 97 points again this year. Get absolutely wrecked. Alexander Ovechkin broke the goal record with 2 only years that were only 20-ish goal seasons. Calm down. Get yourself some celery sticks. Put some peanut butter on it and relax. But no, Ottawa's going to focus on stopping those lines, which means you may need the scoring and you may need secondary scoring. I would love to see if Pacioretty could get in one of these 2 games down the stretch. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
That would be nice to see for sure.
But no, I consider leaving Robertson in the lineup. And also, too, if Pacioretty's at 80%, I don't think he's playing game 1. I'm not saying he won't play in the playoffs. But I think for Patches to play, he's got to be 100%, and he's got to be conditioned as well, and he needs some practice to make sure he can get in. And he is definitely on your third line, and not your second. You're leaving Bobby.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Second line, the guy's got over 20 goals this year. And that second line, when they put Yarncroke on it instead of McMahon, it just doesn't look as dangerous.
Oh yeah, it looked pretty bad.
But Craig, what would you do there? Are you leaving Patches in? I know you're a Patches fan. He played for Montreal, had 37 goals in his best year in Montreal. So do you feel that makes sense to get Pacioretty back in the lineup? Or if the Leafs are rolling, do you leave the lines alone? Because that's something you've also preached of late, is that the Leafs are changing the lines too much.
I think they could bring in that veteran leadership for the playoffs. That'd be the only reason why. And leaving up Patches on the bench for the playoffs, like, I don't know. But I do agree with you guys. I don't know if you'd put him in your top 6, maybe in your bottom 6.
Yes.
And but what's his injury? Like, why is he out on this one so long?
I don't remember exactly what his injury is. It was
a bad one.
Oh, no injury.
It was his hip.
He's been out on, this is his, 2nd or 3rd time out long term over the last couple of years?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, it's an undisclosed injury, is what the Leafs have it as. So I
can see Berube running more of that veteran core leadership and keeping them in that lineup for the first round anyway.
And as crazy as it sounds, I would actually take out Robertson instead of Holberg. I get maybe Robertson has a better shot. I'm not denying that. And I know Holberg doesn't have much offensive abilities, but he does the odd time. And he's not a heavyweight by any means, but he's a very aggressive forechecker and really good defensively. And for a 4th line player, that's exactly what you want in Holberg. So give him credit, because I don't think that's his style naturally. I think he's naturally, and using Murray's, he was more offensive weapon, but he developed to what he had to be in order to play in the NHL. So give him a lot of credit.
Holmberg does not come out of my lineup because he adds some physicality. He's a bigger guy, and he's a guy that I can throw on. He's played on all 4 lines in the last 2.5 years of Toronto and has had some success.
Yes.
So, no, he's definitely in my lineup. And Pacioretty, just put in perspective, in 37 games, only had 13 points. He's definitely a third-line guy for me.
Oh, I agree, but Pacioretty is not the points to say. It's his leadership and his hits blow. He was so
I know
good
he's
physically.
physical.
That's the thing. Maybe he could have played more games this year if he wasn't so physical, but I would rather him play less games and play the way he did for the Toronto lineup.
My only thing is the way he plays, I think he's got to be 100% healthy for him to be effective. And if he's at that 80 to 90%, he's not in my lineup game 1. There's some guys that at 80 to 90%, like if William Nylander's at 80%, he's in my lineup because William Nylander at 80% is one of the best players on the ice. Same with a guy like Connor McDavid. Not saying Nylander's as good as McDavid, but like these situations. Or let's say Montreal, Nick Suzuki gets a little banged up. He's in your lineup game 1 if he can go because he's your best player.
Right.
Max Pacioretty, he's just, I think for him to be effective, he has to be healthy. Now, I've seen some people saying about Ryan Reeves should be in the lineup. He is definitely not in my game 1 lineup.
No.
I love him.
Match up well with Patches in against the Sens or keeping him out?
Personally, I think if he's healthy, you match it better with Patches in because he's more physical. But if he's not 100%, at least Robertson adds the offensive weapon on the third line, and him and Max Domi do have some chemistry together.
They do. I'll give it that. Yeah.
So that's kind of just my takes on that. But again, obviously, I'm not Craig Berube, who is the first coach in Leafs history to have 50 wins in his first year.
Yeah.
So not to Berube there. I mean, I've definitely seen some improvements, but if you go out first round again, nobody cares.
Yeah, basically.
Right? And if you win the division and still go out first round, then there's major changes coming. Mitch Marner and John Tavares. But let's talk now about the Leafs versus Sabres. Remember to download the Streakers app on your mobile devices. See, I can read the ticker when Dan's not eating it. That's why we put Dan in the higher box so you can only eat his name. But the Leafs are playing the Sabres, and they win the game, they win the division. Very simple.
No.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Dan, do they win?
Yes.
Chazzy, do they win?
Yes, and I would be surprised if they sort of blew him out.
Whoa!
I think we have
going into momentum, going into the playoffs. It's a game where you can sort of like boost your confidence a little.
We have a first on the Streakers Island podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Chazzy has picked the Toronto Maple Leafs to win a game. Congratulations for the first ever on the Streakers Island podcast.
I like the gangster music, Will.
I just felt it was But I agree with you. I think the Leafs will win. And actually, I do agree with you. I think there's going to be a bit of a blowout. So I have some props for us to go over now.
Ooh.
Will Max Domi get 1 point and a fight? He needs both. Dan, you look very happy.
I don't think he's just going to do that. I think he's getting Goalie Hell hat trick. I think this game's going to be a blowout, and I think this game's going to get scrappy. And Domi, since Weeds is out of the lineup, Domi's been picking up the slacks and fighting, dropping the gloves. So, yeah, I think he's getting it done.
Chazzy, what do you think there?
No, I think he'll rest his mitts for the opening of the playoffs.
I agree with Chazzy.
He may get a point, but I'm not sure if he'll drop them. But
I think the Leafs are going to try to avoid fights at all possible on this one. So you don't want a guy like Max Domi getting injured and missing the playoffs.
Good point, yeah.
That leaves a real hole because he's taking the role that everyone thought Scott Lawton was going to take. But
I think Morford and I, we didn't lose faith in Domi. We knew he was going to rise down the
100%, yeah.
Than me there, I'll give you that.
He bleeds blue.
Will the Buffalo Sabres score a shorthanded goal?
No.
Dan saying no. Chazzy?
I'm going to say there's going to be a mental lapse, so I'm going to say yes.
Ooh.
I'm not going to give my answer, so you're going to have to jump into the Streakers booth and give your thoughts. But I'm going to give an argument on both sides. The Toronto Maple Leafs power play is either 6th or 7th in the NHL, and when it is clicking, it is clicking. However, you run 5 forwards, which is a risk, and Buffalo uses Tage Thompson on the penalty kill, who is having very quietly a phenomenal season. But last but certainly not least, will Austin Matthews score 1 goal? Before Dan gets negative, I'm going to say yes. Matthews, I think he's going to put up 2. So I'm going to say Matthews scores 1 goal. Dan?
No.
Dan just does not like Austin Matthews. John, with the beautiful GR86, is going to have a few words for Dan about this one. But Chazzy, what are your thoughts here? Matthews,
he'll find
He
the
is.
back of the net. Has he scored in the last couple?
He scored last game.
He scored
Beautiful
last
goal,
game?
too.
He'll score.
Yep.
So remember, if you want to play along, download the Streakers app. And remember, if you run a podcast, message us and we'll tell you how you can add your own custom props to your show. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty cool. I might give you a hat. I can't give you a hat. Maybe Chazzy will. Who knows? I don't know. I just work here. But let's get into now. We talked a little bit earlier in the show about the Calgary Flames and how they've just been finding ways to get points. And some people would talk about the coaching, which Dan disagrees. He has put "nah" in the notes. I think that's just stupid because you look at the team on paper, they should be towards the bottom of the West. People are going on about the no give up in the locker room, which I do agree that's part of it. But the biggest thing is Dustin Wolf.
Yeah.
Who I'm calling it won't win Rookie of the Year, but he should.
Yeah.
What he has done this year in net for Calgary has been outstanding. He is making big saves in big moments in the top 10 in a lot of goaltending categories. And I don't remember a rookie goalie. I don't even feel Andrew Raycroft made this big of an impact on Boston as Dustin Wolf has done to Calgary. Without Dustin Wolf, Calgary is going for potentially a lottery draft pick, never mind pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think has been the biggest out of those 3 key factors? Chazzy, what do you see with Calgary that's just been the reason?
The resurgence of Huberdeau, Uyghur out in the point, and Kadri just shows that he's continuously be is that leader that he can lead the squad. So those 3, well, mind you, with what you're saying with Wolf, but I'd say those 3 offensive pieces and leadership in the Calgary win or lose here, they definitely got a good core going into next year. If they miss out on the playoffs here, but like you said, they got a great chance, and you haven't lost faith in them, and their season could continue later this week.
And when you mentioned Huberdeau, I think that's a great point because Huberdeau has 28 goals and 33 assists this year. He's really, and Dan, I know you've talked about a lot. Well, it's not the 110 points he got in Florida.
115 he got in Florida.
Whatever. He's not playing with the same level of talent. He's playing on a line usually of Coronado and sometimes Sharon Davidge and sometimes Farabee. And that's no disrespect to those players. They're decent players. Actually, Coronado's having a great year, 24 goals. But they're not going to be able to put up the same. It's like when people say, well, Kadri's not putting as many points as he did in Colorado. You used to believe Nathan McKinnon. Like, I could play with Nathan McKinnon and probably put in 15 goals. Well, probably not because I can't skate. But if I could skate, I could do that because Nathan McKinnon is one of those special players. But I agree with you, Chazzy, and same with Mackenzie Weegar. Like 8 goals, 38 points, 46 points, 38 assists, plus 19. That's the big kicker.
That's hard on Calgary.
That's very, yeah. But I just want to quickly talk Dustin Wolf here. He's got a 2.62 goals against average, a 910 save percentage, and 3 shutouts to go along with 3 assists. So he's even helping on the offense.
Now, was Wolf part of a package, or did they draft him?
They drafted him. Everyone was so excited about this kid because in the minors he was playing outstanding. But the interesting thing is he's actually very undersized for NHL.
Yeah, he's small.
The guy's only 6 feet, 166 pounds. That is small. But he was drafted in the 7th round in 2019. I just want to put that out there. Wow. That's why teams, you know what, don't always trade your late picks. Yeah. Sometimes you'll find a real gold mine. But Dan, what do you see with Calgary? I know I know you're a huge Kadri fan, but what do you see of Calgary that's really been the difference maker?
I think you're both right. I think those are 2 huge factors between Wolf playing out of his mind And the other thing about goaltending is you got to give Fordard a lot of credit, too. A lot of people thought going in, this would have been Fordard's team. He never complained about it. He's always been very supportive to Wolf on the bench. And when he has to come in, he still played just as good as he did before. So having a rookie head's not so bad when you have a veteran. Well, Fordard's not a veteran, but when you have a good backup like Fordard, that's so good. And I think Chazzy is why I think Kadri has really put his team on his back. You guys, everyone knows what I think about Huberdeau. I still don't think he's playing how he should, but he is having his best year as a Flame, whatever that means. And Uyghur has been incredible. I've always thought Uyghur was better than the credit he was given in Florida. It was just because he was playing behind Aaron Ekblad and stuff like that, right? But now that he's the number one guy, you can see he's the number one defenseman. But I think the one thing that you guys forgot about is not just the leadership in the top players in Calgary. It's they really play by committee. And I think that's why his team is the way they are. Look at Michael Backlund, for example. You know, I was sitting there the other night. I'm like, why is he the captain? Why do they still have him? Blah, blah, blah. And then we're like, going into the fight, who gets the big goal? Michael Backlund, right? He's just a special player. And you got to look at Blake Coleman. I thought a couple of years ago Blake Coleman was going to be retired and be done out of the league. Yes, he's slowed down this year, but down this stretch, fighting for his playoff spot, he's got some big goals and some big points. And you also got to give the fourth line tons of credit with Klappa and I think Lupe's the guy's name, the center. They are debatably AHL players, and they probably were AHL players at the beginning of the year, but yet they found another gear. They got some key points down this stretch. And that's why I say coaching was kind of like me, because it's not like he's this great veteran coach. It's just that they're winning by committee. The teams are the leadership of Kadri and everyone is making his team like glue and sticking together and playing really hard. And I think they got a legit chance of making the playoffs. And if they don't, that's okay. It's like in the same position as Montreal and Columbus. This team wasn't expected to make it this far. They missed, if they do miss the playoffs, they missed it by one game. And I think if you give this team like Toffoli, I don't know if I was going to say, get rid of him, I don't think, but let's say we had Toffoli in this year's Flames, I think that'll be a difference of making a playoffs. I think they're that close.
I do want to state a lot of the things you described as culture set in by coaching. So get wrecked.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
But let's move on to the Flames versus the Knights. This is a must-win game for Calgary. And I'm going to say Calgary gets it done. They find a way to finally take down the Vegas Golden Knights. I think knowing Calgary, it's going to be an overtime game. That's going to make me very stressed out, but they're going to do it. Chazzy, who's winning here, Calgary or Vegas?
Just seeing if they're at home. So they're at home ice. The theater has been set. I think they're going to do it. Calgary.
Dan, what are your thoughts?
I'll say Calgary, too. Like I said, Vegas might be from 9 out of 10 times. So Calgary just needs this one. I think we'll get it done.
Is Dustin Wolf going to have to make over 35 saves to get this victory?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
I don't know how much the full roster is going to play for Vegas.
I'm not telling you my thoughts on that. So again, if you want to know, you have to play along in the Streakers app. But is Nazem Kadri going to get 2 points? I'll tell you that one. You damn right he is. Kadri's going to get 2 points.
I'll agree with you on that one.
Dan?
I don't remember what I said in my notes.
You put yes.
Oh, so yes.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, Calgary has had a bit of a bad habit of late to have a slow start. So will Vegas get 10 shots in the first 12 minutes?
No.
It's what the Sharks did the other night, just to put into perspective.
Wow.
I'm going to say no as well. I think Calgary's going to come in a little bit hungrier. But remember to download the Streakers app.
Tomorrow.
Download the Streakers app and play along. But I want to move on now to the Toronto Blue Jays. And if you remember at the start of the year, we said the Jays just can't get hurt. Well, they didn't understand that.
Here we go.
Max Scherzer's still out. We're hearing potentially late April. but he still got an inflamed thumb, which people might be laughing. It's an inflamed thumb. A pitcher, his hand has to be good.
Oh, yeah, that's a big piece.
But I think we're also seeing Dalton Varsho still also won't be back until late April. But the big one that I was concerned about was Mr. Dinger, George Springer. Faced an injury, kind of jammed up his wrist. Is to be determined on how long he's going to be out.
Sorry, how did he get hurt?
He kind of jammed his wrist when he was trying to hit the ball. And then he hurt it again later in that game. He played the whole game and come from behind win against the Orioles.
Oh, right, yeah.
But that's a tough loss for the Jays. I feel Springer has been a real big piece, and it's going to be up to guys like Vladdy and Bichette to really step up in the offense. But yeah, I think those are just some key injuries. There's more injuries, but those are just the three key ones I kind of wanted to mention. Like, let's hope Max Scherzer comes back sooner than later. As we'll talk about later, Easton Lucas did not have a very good game on Monday.
Yeah, I was unfortunate to see.
Varsho was a big piece of that center field position. Like, I think there's some catches we're not seeing being made that Varsho's probably making. Plus, in spring training, he was hitting the ball pretty well. And Springer, I think this is the best he's looked in the last couple of years to start the year. Yeah. So I really hope when he comes back from this injury too, that's my big concern. It's one thing to come back, but a wrist is a big part of your swing. Yeah. And we just better hope that he comes back to that same quality. Because I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the game against the Braves. I don't know if you braved it. I think a lot of Jays fans wish they just stayed home.
Yeah,
this was the first game back in Toronto with Vladdy after his big contract. A lot of hype around it. And they lost 8-4.
Out.
And they look bad. Easton Lucas really struggled. Only had 3 strikeouts, 6 hits, 8 errors. Yeah, I think this maybe showed that as much as his first few game starts look really good, this guy's still really young.
Yeah, I may have to go back to the minors a little bit.
I don't even necessarily know that. You don't bench your ace when they have a bad night. But I think
not your ace.
I think the leash just got tighter again.
Mm-hmm.
And the big stat for me though was Bo Bichette and Vladdy both went 0-4. And that can't happen.
No, can't. They gotta play big.
Especially Vladdy just signs that big deal and lays up a big goose egg. Bo Bichette's supposed to be getting a big deal. The team's announced that they want to get this done before the season's over.
Oh.
But
Vladdy's daily routine was off today. Too many press conferences.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? As much as I'm laughing and we're all laughing, that is a possibility. Players have their routines and maybe it just was an off night. But the Jays have to be better.
Yeah.
Dan, you've been very optimistic about the Jays, but the Braves going into this game only had 4 wins all year. This was their 5th. How concerned are you?
Well, I think the Jays are going to win the next 2. You got Gossman pitching for next game, which I think he's the best pitcher, and I think Vladdy is going to get his bat swinging. I think Craig actually nailed it on the head. I think that there's a lot of media hype and everything about the contract, and now it's all said and done. And those distractions are going to be out the window. He's going to play very well. And Brissett has to start playing well if he wants to stay as a Jay and get a big payday. So I think the Jays are going to come out swinging next game, and I think it'll be a blowout. I think we're going to win.
Chazzy, what are you thinking here? Because you talked about how the starting pitchers have to kind of do better so the bullpen doesn't have to stay in too long. Was this kind of showing why?
Oh, absolutely. I think the bullpen's actually done not too bad for the.
It looked okay.
The season they haven't been playing too bad, but it's just the key hits. I think we saw some key hits there on the weekend in Baltimore. This team had some momentum going into that Red Sox and Baltimore on the road. Now they come back. We expected a stronger game, and they just came in and laid an egg. So wish we had a different result, but this is sort of like the same record that had some momentum, and then sort of, I don't know, we just came out flat. And like we said at the beginning, we got to stay healthy for any sort of success. And especially with Max Scherzer out early. Like that doesn't help at all.
Now, I do want to state at least the Jays weren't the Boston Red Sox on Monday night. The Boston Red Sox lost 16-1 to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, wow.
So just a little food for thought there, where they allowed 9 runs in the third inning in that one.
Ouch.
So
that torpedo bat.
Yeah, maybe.
Mind you, we're not listening. We're not hearing too much about that bat anymore.
no, well, you know what? The Yankees actually haven't looked that spectacular. Like, okay, they did beat the Kansas City Royals on Monday night 4-1, but their record's 9-7. I don't think this torpedo bat has been as spectacular. It doesn't matter if you can hit if you can't get any defense.
And what's the Jays now? 8-6?
9-8 or something there, or some. I think they're 1 game over. But I think the Cubby Bears just put up 16 over the weekend on the Dodgers. So
the Jays are 9-8 right now. If that lost to the Braves,
Yeah.
so they're second in the American League East. But luckily for them, since the Red Sox and the Yankees have kind of been covered as well, the Jays just got to get going.
Oh,
right,
100%.
because if you can really get going while these two teams try to find their game, that's big. But let's fast forward a little bit to the Jays game, and let's talk about the second game in this mini series versus the Braves. We already know Dan said the Jays are going to win, so he's already locked in his pick in the Streakers app. I say the Jays are going to win this one too. They're going to get it done. Chazzy, what are your thoughts? Do you think the Jays are going to bounce back after a tough loss?
you know what? I'm going to say no. This game too, I'll take the Braves in the game too.
Okay, so
I just don't find this momentum now that you're just telling me what Springer's going to be out. Like I don't know, it's a much different team when you get one of those top 3 bats out.
You're wrong, as I'm a self-proclaimed sports analyst, but that's okay. And I also have the highest winning percentage out of the 3 of us in the Streakers app. So I'm
coming up. I'm telling you, I think
I'm going to keep rubbing that in. By the way, until one of you guys pass me, right?
That's why I keep going. I want to pass you.
But let's talk about some of my props for this one. Will Kevin Gausman throw at least 87 pitches and make it through the 6th inning?
He pitched well last start, did he not?
He did very well. He threw the ball with grace and love. Dan, what do you think?
Yes, I think he's going to get it done.
Chazzy, what do you think?
87 pitches.
And he's got to get through the whole 6th inning.
He should be good for at least 90, so yes.
I'm going to say no. He's going to get the pitches.
I don't think the Braves' bats are that warm yet, so I'll say yes.
I think he'll get the pitches, but I think the manager will be an idiot and pull him at about 5 2/3.
Oh, John Snyder, yeah.
Because he seems to like to not let the starters play enough. But will Bulba should have a bounce back game and get at least 2 hits?
Yes.
Chazzy?
You'd hope so, but I'm going to say no.
Oh.
I'm not going to tell you. Will Vladdy Guerrero Jr. hit at least 2 RBIs?
Yes.
No.
It's going to be an off game as well. Dan's much more positive than we are about the Jays.
98 wins. Let's go.
Gosh, that's not happening.
You know, I got, 89 to go. 89 wins to go. Let's go. We're still in April. It's still time.
But let's move on to the OHL playoffs. And Bry Pup will come back on Thursday because I think some of these series will be pretty much over at that point. But I'm very surprised, and I don't know if you guys are surprised. None of these series are close. Brantford's up 2-0 over Oshawa. Oshawa can't defend. Barrie's 2-0 over Kingston. London's 2-0 over Erie. And Windsor is 3-0 over the Kitchener Rangers. I really thought, I thought right now Brantford and Oshawa would be one apiece.
Yeah.
And I thought Kitchener would at least have one. I thought Kitchener would be at least have 1 win by now. And the crazy thing is, these games aren't even really that close.
I thought Kingston would have a win now too.
Windsor beat Kitchener 6-3 on Monday night. Brantford, their last game against Oshawa, won 8-5. These games, weirdly enough, just are not even close. I'm looking a little more into the rest of the games here. Barrie beat Kingston on Saturday 7-4. Another game between Windsor and Kitchener was 5-1. London beat Erie 7-2. Windsor 5-1. Oshawa Brantford 5-2. I don't know. I really was expecting tighter checked hockey.
Yeah, me too.
Which is unfortunate because I thought we'd see better hockey right now.
Thought we'd see more goals from the Gens.
Yeah, definitely.
They did score 5, but when you allow 8.
Yeah, but you're letting in more consistently.
And this is when people argue that the NHL current format for the playoffs is better, but I still disagree with that.
You're comparing apples to oranges. It's junior hockey versus professional. My battery died in my mouse, if you guys are wondering what I'm doing. So we're just changing batteries on the fly.
Double A or triple A?
Double A. AA. Amazingly adequate.
Your London Knights are looking good there, more for so.
Yep, we're going to get it done.
Let's be honest. I think by the time we go live again Saturdays, we're going to keep to that schedule. I think we'll probably know. We potentially might know all the series.
We might see 3 or 4 sweeps.
We might see all 4 sweeps.
Wow.
And if you decide, at least that means if Brantford makes it to the 3rd round, that $70 ticket might be worth
it. $70.
But I don't. I'm generally
$70 to go to Brantford.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Because we looked into it, right? We thought, it'll be fun to see a Bulldog game, but Zach Hyman needs to make his nickel and dimes. Wow. He's not getting paid. $7 million is not enough in Edmonton for him, After all, you could probably buy a castle in Edmonton at $7 million. So he needs 2 castles in the city of Edmonton. So that's why it's $70. As I point out to Jacob off camera, you can go to a Murray's game, AHL hockey, for $15. Mm-hmm. And to watch OHL junior kids is $70. So don't forget, folks, you can get a lot of great hockey watching the AHL.
Can I also mention you can go to an OJHL game for like $10?
Yeah, that too.
There's a series coming up.
Yes, actually, I'm glad you threw to it. The Milton Menace, for the first time in franchise history, is now in the Buckland Cup Finals.
Wow.
Taking on the Trenton Golden Hawks. This, I will be honest, Milton beating Leamington was a bit of a surprise. So that's no disrespect to the Milton Menace. They play a rough and tough style hockey game. Their arena, the Madhouse in Milton, it's a tiny rink and you cram over 1,000 people in it. It is rocking.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, it's one of the most. Say that again?
Have you produced any of their games in their barn there?
Oh, absolutely. And it is such a fun arena to be in. And you look at this Milton team, they are built to win playoff hockey. They're big, they're physical. I don't know if for anyone who doesn't know too, their rink size is actually slightly smaller than NHL size. So it really comes to advantage them at home. But that series against Leamington didn't win a single game at home.
Wow.
Which was a surprise. To put in perspective, the last game in Milton on Friday, April the 11th, had 1,235 people at the game.
Wow.
Right? So I just want to say that,
the atmosphere must have been rocking.
Don't knock it until you try it. Head down to Milton Memorial Arena or go to the hangar in Trenton. And because Trenton Golden Hawks as well, they get very good attendance. Last game in Trenton, you were over 1,000 people again, right? Wow. So, I'm just saying, give it a real good shot. Like it's some exciting hockey. But I'm and one thing that really excites me too is that you can play in the OJHL and the Streakers app.
That's right.
That's something very, very different compared to other apps. And that's something I love because this is a league that after working in the home community now for just over 3 years, I've grown to love this league. And you get some OHL players playing in this league, and tell you the truth, they're not dominating.
No.
Like this is a tough league, right? So let's say you don't want to spend $70+ to go see your Brantford Bulldogs. Well, come on out to Milton or Trenton and watch a great game. And this is going to be a very interesting series because if you look at the standings going into this, the Trenton Golden Hawks in 56 games had 47 wins for 97 points.
Crazy.
They were at one point, it was like almost a 20-game winning streak at one point this year. They were the best team in the world. But Milton just took down Leamington, who had 45 wins in 56 games this year, and they took them down at 5.
That's crazy.
From perspective, Milton had 36 wins this year. Like a good team, but no one thought they were going to beat Collingwood and Leamington. Collingwood was the back-to-back Buckland Cup champions last 2 years. And for Milton to go to sweep Burlington, take Collingwood in 5 and Leamington in 5 was unexpected. And Trenton, exact same path, right? They've only lost 2 games in the playoffs so far. So we don't know the exact schedule yet for this series, but is this going to be exciting? So I do want to ask you guys, because again, we can play the OJHO and the Streakers app. So make sure you download the app and play all these other leagues. Get your own leagues in there. Who's taking game 1 of the series? Game 1 will more than likely be in Trenton, as Trenton has home ice. OJHL is a little different depending on schedules and trying to get the rinks booked, because this is grassroots sports we're talking here. Who's taking game 1? Trenton or Milton? Mind you, Milton has not lost on the road yet, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
So who are you taking? Chazzy, I'm going to start with you because Dan looks perplexed.
I'm thinking.
I'm going to take the shocker in game 1, Milton. I think they could probably squeeze this one out. Close game, though.
Oh, it's going to be a close game for sure. I'm also going to say the Milton Menace, and I think the big difference is going to be Carter Bickle in net. He has been outstanding in these playoffs. Like, he's just been damn near unbeatable. But again, I think the Trenton Golden Hawks going to give them a real good run for their money. I don't see this series ending early, but game 1, I think Milton's going to go up 1-0. Now, Dan, you've had plenty of time to think.
Yes.
You less perplexed.
Well,
so, who are you taking?
He's visualizing.
You know, Trenton's a really good team. And playing the Streakers app, I've been picking Trenton from the opposite conference. So I thought they may have this far. Hey, helps my numbers, so that's fantastic. I had a good feeling about them. But I am shocked that Milton beat Leamington in 5. I thought Leamington was going to win that series, but I thought it was going to go 7, right? So I think Milton has a lot of momentum going. I think they're going to carry out momentum of game 1 and take it in Trenton.
And there was one crazy stat I want to mention in that series between Leamington and Milton before we moved on. Leamington went 0 for 16 on the power play in that series.
Oh,
doesn't matter if Milton takes the most penalties in the league if they can keep killing them off.
Yeah.
Because they take a lot of penalties. I mean, they have the most penalties in the playoffs of 223 penalty minutes. They had the most in the regular season, the only team in the league, second most in the league with 1,014 penalty minutes. This team plays physical, man. But if they can keep killing them off, doesn't really matter if you take the penalties as long as you can kill them.
And that's what I want to say. What's so awesome about Streakers is that it's not gambling. You're winning for points. So because of that, we can talk about junior sports in the app, which is pretty amazing as some other apps cannot do. So definitely log in and get your junior teams on here.
And again, we're all about grassroots community. That's why I really wanted to mention the OJHL. And I think I'd like to get more junior sports in here. So if you have a local sports team, make sure you send us an email, and I will put that email right on the screen for you, okay? For anyone who's watching, streakersislandpodcast@gmail.com. And if you have a local team, send it our way. We would love to hear from you about it.
Yeah,
I'll leave that email on there for a little bit so you have time to write it down, or I guess you can pause it. This isn't live TV. But I do want to move on to 4 and some golf. So I said that everyone was going to suck, but McElroy was going to win. Mad Mama also picked McElroy because, as she said, it was the only golfer she recognized. So, you know what? These non-golf fans are doing pretty well. So, Chazzy, what did you feel in the Masters overall? Because I think you're more of the golf fan than we are. You have a putting green at your house.
It was an absolute emotional roller coaster from the beginning. Justin Rose leading the first 2 rounds to, I think he shot 10 birdies on the final round to get into a playoff against Rory. But if you did watch it, yeah, you enjoyed the roller coaster. But this was Roy's 11th time to complete the Grand Slam. So 4 majors in golf. He had 3 of them, and he just could never get the green jacket, which he was close a few times, especially when he was younger. I think he had the lead going into the back 9 and sort of imploded. So, and then now on the 18th, he had just shy of a 4 or 5 foot putt, and he missed it. And we're like, oh, here we go.
No.
You had to feel for him.
I was like, no.
Supposedly that's all he talks about. So, and then he gets to the playoffs, and yeah, Justin Rose put one in there tight, and he just put one even closer and got her done. So, congratulations to Rory. Got the horse off his back and the monkey off his back, and
poor back.
Well, it's probably that much over 1,000 pounds of emotional weight. But yeah, he's the 6th player now to complete the golf Grand Slam.
I do want to bring up too, I liked his attitude about it. He was laughing about it too when he hadn't got it yet. And after he got it, he's like, before you guys ask me questions, I have a question for you. What storyline are you going to use next year? Because
exactly. I saw that.
Right? I appreciated I get it's professional sports and we all care about our sports, but it's not open heart surgery, right? So I appreciated the more lax attitude in that moment. I thought that was the right time for it.
But right. After him missing that putt, he showed no emotion. Just, okay, let's go to the playoff. Anyone else would probably show emotion of disappointment. Well, he didn't show anything.
No.
Said, okay, let's go to the 18th tee box. Let's do this again. But yeah, I agree with you on that one. The emotion, he kept it in check all week. So
now, does he retire? Like, seriously, he's got it done. He's got money. Maybe he wants to sit on the beach.
Now it's all about multiple green jackets.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I gotta say, it's tacky to wear the same suit every day. So
that's why I got 100 of them.
I think Tiger's got 5 jackets, and I think the Golden Bears got 6. I think so.
And I gotta say, those green jackets are gangster. I definitely want one.
Though, fun fact, you don't need to be good at golf to get a green jacket. Just head over to your local tailor, right?
I got a green jacket, but I like the hunter green, though.
Well, then get a hunter. Actually, no. Before we say this on the podcast, Dan has so many suits that they're all over the Hamilton studios here. And Dan does not need any more suits. So nobody send Dan a green suit jacket, please.
Chazzy knows when I went on the road with him. He knows when we went out to put on a nice jacket.
Chazzy probably didn't even get any closet space because it's just whatever Dan goes out on vacation. And this is off topic, but I don't care now. He's going for like 2 days and he takes like 2 giant suitcases. I'm like, give me jeans and a golf shirt.
No, I need different outfits on different occasions and meet different people. And what if I poop my pants or spill something? You just never know.
Spill something.
Okay. But think
what happens if I spill that ice cream that I valeted up there?
You put on your second pair of jeans.
Seriously, so now you're even backing more.
You go out for a nice dinner. What do you need? Jeans and a golf shirt. Go for a walk. Jeans and a golf shirt. Beers with the boys. Jeans and a golf shirt.
What's some jogging pants?
1 pair of jogging pants for when he gets his 3rd bowl of ice cream on his pants. Then he just can't go to the fancy dinner parlor anymore.
We got enough to believe.
But anyways, I do want to talk CFO quarterbacks here. I was on Third Down Nation and reading an article from Justin Dunk, and it was an interesting article. Is the highest paid quarterback in the CFO truly the best?
No.
And this is where, Dan, before you answer, calm down.
I don't know the answer.
Relax. So the highest paid quarterback is Nathan Rourke at hard money at $624,000. The next highest is Chad Kelly at $615,000.
He's the best.
Then Zach Collaros at $600,000. Here's the deal of the century: VA at $465,000 in Calgary. Right? Like, if you're looking there, I think he should be being paid more than Zach Collaros right now, to be completely honest.
You don't have a lot of faith in BC this year, so they have the highest paid.
Remember what I said with BC, it all depends which Nathan Rourke you get. And they paid Nathan Rourke based on the CFL stats from a couple years ago when he won the Canadian MOP.
Like,
it just depends which Nathan Rourke you get. But when we look at these quarterbacks, you have Trevor Harris at hard money at $399, Drew Brown $354, Bo Levi Mitchell $323, Davis
that's a
Alexander
deal.
at $258, Trey Ford at $257. However, Trey Ford can get the most money in bonuses.
So did that Nathan Rourke, he signed a multi-year deal to get
3-year deal.
624?
3-year deal. And there's marketing money involved as well, but marketing money doesn't go against the cap.
Sorry, that was last year. So this is second of the 3-year deal.
No, this will be his. I don't know because like he finished his other contract up last year, so this will be his first year of the new deal. And he was technically still under contract when he came back to the Lions, for the Lions to go $400,000 over salary cap, which anyone doesn't know, they had to give Calgary 2 first-round picks because of that.
That's why.
So you're saying BC right now is still in that mystery box?
Mystery box.
Mystery box.
They're basically Mr. Beast.
Yes.
Except they don't have delicious chocolate bars. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe BC. Maybe I could kind of picture Sean White having a chocolate bar brand. Like their kicker. He's a funny dude. But no, personally, when I'm looking at the quarterbacks now, I think the top 4 is that you could argue who's the best out of those top 4 paid guys, and you're not out to lunch between Nathan Rourke, Chad Kelly, Zach Claros, or Vernon Adams Jr.
Yeah.
Makes me think that Calgary got a steal at VA at $465.
Isn't Bo Levi? Isn't that a steal?
I was going to say, that's a steal too.
Well, he has been a guy that has had some inconsistencies, but you just brought him in Kenny Lawler, and he still has Tim White. Yeah, I think Bo Levi Mitchell could have a crazy year this year.
To me, that's the best value, as much as I love Chad Kelly.
I think the best value is Vernon Adams Jr. because I think you have a quarterback that's NFL caliber who's young. The only reason why he's not in the NFL is because he's a little too short. I don't know why the NFL is so much about getting a tape measure to make sure everyone's exactly a certain height. But you look at besides a guy like Kyler Murray, no one's really that stature in the NFL at QB because, you need that stature to play like Daniel Jones to make it in this league, ladies and gentlemen. And who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers will come play in the CFL. I'm kidding. He's not coming to the CFL. He's going to sign with Pittsburgh. I don't know why the Steelers didn't. Aaron Rodgers haven't made it so yet. Just so we can go on more podcasts. But also, too, Trevor Harris is a great deal there. And considering, too, he played the second half of the year with a torn ACL and still managed to put up some pretty good numbers. If he can stay healthy, man, Saskatchewan's got a really solid quarterback. And their backup's Jake Mayer, too, is not terrible. So
more for you. You've talked about Cody Fajardo. Is that a deal at 180?
That's a steal of the century, too. He won the Grey Cup 2 years ago.
And actually, Cody Fajardo's coming off a good year. Right?
Yeah, he had a great year last year, too. I guess he didn't win the championship, but there was one playoff game, and in the season, he played fantastic.
I would say the same thing about McLeod Bethel Thompson at 185.
It's another great one.
That if you need them to be starters, because there are big question marks around Trey Ford and Davis Alexander, which is why I like both their contracts as they're a bit lower in hard money at $258 and $257 respectfully. It's giving you that flexibility, and that way they're only making some bigger coin if they prove it. They're kind of like a prove it contract, sort of like what Drew Brown got. I mean, now Ottawa's extended him through 2026, which makes a lot of sense to me because Drew Brown proved it, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm very curious to see what these guys are like because they know they have a very good quarterback. Just like, give me playing time.
Yeah.
Where was Bethel Thompson last year?
He was in Edmonton, so his win-loss was terrible. But there was a lot of games that they lost that I didn't feel he was the reason why they lost. Everyone blames the quarterback. Yeah. In the NHL, everyone blames the goalie, or in baseball, everyone blames the pitcher. Yeah. But if you go and actually look at Bo Levi Mitchell's stats from McLeod Bethel Thompson's stats from last year, they're actually pretty good. Like, I think if you put them on a team that maybe didn't have all the coaching issues throughout the year, and actually I think he might even do better in Montreal getting out of the culture in Edmonton. Because remember, this is the same team where their GM says that there's no superstar talent in the CFL.
Yeah,
so you're not letting that one go, are you?
No, I'm not.
No.
He's tried to backtrack it. It's just like they're names that aren't known outside of the CFL. It's like, yeah, okay, if I talk to my 86-year-old grandmother and say Leon Draisaitl is leading the NHL in scoring, she's going to say to me, who the heck's Leon Draisaitl?
Yeah.
That's a dumb quote. But anyways, back to McLeod Bethel Thompson. He did throw for 3,748 yards, 24 touchdowns to 11 interceptions.
Yeah,
Like, that's pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
Right? So his best year in the CFL was in Toronto in 22, where he had 23 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, but 4,731 yards.
Yeah, that was a incredible year.
But what I mean is, you look at those 2 years, besides maybe the yardage, which Edmonton runs the ball a lot more than Toronto did that year.
Like,
I mean, he had a good year.
he did.
So
He didn't play as many games either.
he played 16, and that other year played 17.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I could see either Fajardo or MBT. These are contracts too that if a team gets a quarterback hurt, and let's say these guys are playing well, you might see them getting moved. But then I want to ask you guys, and I know we had this debate about a month ago, but I'm going to bring it up again since we're talking quarterbacks and their salary. Who's the best quarterback in the CFL going into this year?
Chad Kelly.
Chazzy?
Oh, Vernon Adams Jr.
I'm going to go very off the board. Trevor Harris.
Cool.
If he stays healthy, he will be the best quarterback in the CFL this year.
Wow.
And I think if he stays healthy, the Rough Riders get back to the Grey Cup, which is going to be hilarious if the Rough Riders are in the Grey Cup in Winnipeg.
Whoa.
Because when you look at Trevor Harris's stats, okay, so he only played 12 games. In 12 games, he had 20 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, 3,264 passing yards. Can you imagine if he played every game?
He'd be over 5,000 yards a year.
His best year in Montreal, where he played 16 games, had 4,157 yards. He was on pace for a better year.
Wow, that's crazy.
If he stayed healthy, Saskatchewan is probably has home field advantage, and they probably get the bye in the first round.
Yep. Crazy.
Which means there's a very good chance you beat Winnipeg in that Western final if you have home field.
Right.
Because Rider Nation, the Riderville and the Blue Bombers Princess Auto Stadium are two of the loudest stadiums in Canada.
Oh, yes.
Right? So it's a huge difference maker there. But yeah, I'm going off the board there, and I think Trevor Harris, if he can stay healthy, could be the best quarterback in the CFL. I find it interesting, though, none of us are even talking about Zach Collaros. Is he too old?
Yeah, I think he's getting up there.
He had a rough year for him last year. If you guys remember, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were 2-6 at one point. It's incredible they bounced back and made it all the way to the Grey Cup for them to get absolutely slaughtered by the Toronto Argos. But in 18 games, he threw for 4,336 yards, 17 touchdowns, but 15 interceptions.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's the big glaring number with Zach Collaros. And I found it interesting, too. He could have restructured his contract this year and chose not to.
Yep.
I do wonder if that's something go culture-wise with Winnipeg, which is very strange because they really preach their culture.
Yeah.
And it's just to look at years prior, Collaros in 23 had 33 touchdown passes to 15 interceptions, and in 22, 37 touchdown passes to 13 interceptions. So the interceptions are about the same, but the touchdown passes have drastically dropped.
Yeah.
But we got to wrap the show up because poor Dan's got to leave for work.
He's
And
in the
like,
standing right
I'm
now.
sorry, I'm trying here, everyone.
So, Dan, what is your mindset beside peace out, Girl Scout? I need to go to bed.
Yeah. Mindset tonight is a quote, and it's a good one. Life is a succession of lessons which must be lived to be understood.
That's a good quote. No, that's a good quote.
I can't speak tonight, but it's true, though. It's like, in order to understand life, you got to live through them, and you don't understand at a time, but once you've gone through what you're going through, you're thankful that you learned a lesson. So,
you know what, though? That is true. You can't replace life experiences. I think that's where you
Absolutely.
could have summed that up much easier, Dan. And just so everyone's aware here, the Edmonton Oilers lost 5-0. They are now mathematically impossible to get home ice in the first round. They're going to have to beat the LA Kings, who went 31-5-4.
Not just the first round. I think not getting home ice, if they do beat LA, is going to hurt them in the later series.
Well, they won't have home ice for all the playoffs, basically.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Because actually, just a quick little search. Yeah, if they play, even if they make it further down and play someone in the Central, they won't have home ice either.
No.
Because Colorado has 102 points. Edmonton only has one game left. They can't catch that either.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go.
Yes.
So thank you very much for watching the Streakers Island podcast. Looking for more Streakers Island content, make sure you check out all the social medias. Chazzy's like, I've heard this spiel so many damn times, but I'm going to keep pushing through the spiel. Remember, too, if you have topics you want us to talk about on the show, send us an email at streakersislandpodcast@gmail.com. Email's right there on the screen. Join the conversation. Be a part of the Streakers Island community. Thank you very much
comment on our
for
social media stuff.
Comment on social media. Download the Streakers app. Please don't send Dan Moore another suit. He has enough suits. I've never seen Chazzy in a suit, so maybe send Chazzy a nice green jacket. He golfs. It makes sense if he has a hunter green jacket. But thank you very much for joining, and we will see you again on Thursday. So now we're going to smack the show out of here because we're done.
Bye-bye.